great question about our mission in Afghanistan, and I think you've expressed anxiety that a lot of Canadians have. We used to be peacekeepers, and now we're fighting what seems to be a very difficult engagement. I think just last week a brave soldier from Quebec lost his life exactly being blown up by one of those IEDs. Remember why he was out on that road. He wasn't just protecting Canadians, he was protecting Afghan men and women trying to get into Kandahar to go about their lawful business. He was saving other people's lives. In a way, he was a peacekeeper, but I won't push that on you. Our party's position on this has been very clear for some time. We support the mission in Afghanistan first because we're supporting a democratically elected government that was chosen by the Afghan people and that said, help us, because if you don't help us, we're going to go under. So we're supporting a democratically elected government. The UN asked us to do it, which is the Canadian thing. We don't go in unless the UN asks us to do something. But we've also said that we can't sustain this mission beyond 2011. And our party has said we're going to bring the troops home and the combat mission in Kandahar in 2011. And I'm not changing that, because I think we've been there almost a decade now. And the key thing I think that Canadians understand is that this isn't our country, this is their country. And at a certain point, they have to stand up and defend the country. And we can help them. And I hope after 2011, just so it's clear, we'll be able to continue to help them with humanitarian aid and political assistance and other forms of, we can train some people. But it's their country and they're going to have to defend it. And I think after that, I think it would make sense for Canada to re-engage in some of the more peacekeeping roles that we've done in the past. We were talking about Darfur a minute ago. We can't do more in Darfur because we're tied up in Afghanistan. And there may be other UN roles that make sense that we should be engaged in. But I have to warn you about one thing, and this is where I feel I have to level with you. Before I went into politics, I spent a lot of time in war zones as a journalist and reporter. And the thing I noticed everywhere I went, whether it was the Balkans or whether it was Africa or whether it was Afghanistan, is that if you want Canadian soldiers to go out there to do anything, protect civilians from being, raped and murdered, they have to have military capability. You can't send them in there with a beret and a sidearm. And Canadians have to understand, if you want peacekeeping, and I want it as much as you do, they have to have combat capability. They have to be able to defend the people they're asked to defend. And if we don't understand that, we're going to get into a mess. And we got into a mess with Romeo Dallaire in Rwanda. Some of you may remember back 15 years, we sent a brave Canadian general into a war zone, basically with sidearms and a beret, and he had to watch 800,000 people get massacred. We never, ever, ever want to do that again, right? And I think we understand each other about that. If Canada is asked to do something tough, we have to send our people in with the equipment to do the job. Never for aggression, never for conquest, never for occupation, always to keep the peace. But even if you're keeping the peace, you got to come armed.